One of the biggest challenges colleges face is keeping alumni connected after graduation. Events, reunions, fundraising, it's a lot to manage. And honestly, most schools are piecing it together with different tools that don't really talk to each other. That's why Alumni Q has built their all-in-one platform just for higher ed. It handles the everyday stuff, emails, giving, membership, directories, and it makes it all work together in one place. No more messy systems. And here's the cool part. If you've ever planned a reunion, you know how chaotic it can get. Alumni Q has something called Signature Events that takes the pain out of big milestones. Think smarter registration, built-in giving, real-time reporting, and even printing name tags on the fly. It's like having an extra teammate who never sleeps. So if your school is ready to simplify alumni engagement and actually strengthen connections, check out alumniq.com and request a demo.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for listening to Alumless for October 10th, 2025. This is the Navigating University Eras and Alumni Engagement Edition. I'm Ryan Catherwood, and I am joined by CMAC founder and CEO, Chris Marshall. Hey, Chris, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ryan. Good morning from Salt Lake City, Utah. It's good to see you.
Yeah, bright and early there in Salt Lake. Thanks for getting up to record an episode of the show. On Alumless, we talk about constituent engagement strategies and education advancement. We are pre-recorded today, although we will definitely be checking out the comment section on LinkedIn. So be sure to ask your questions to myself, Chris Marshall, or our special guest today, Chris Grugan from Bentley University. We'll introduce him in just a moment. And if you're listening to us by podcast, we appreciate you adding Alumless to your feed. And we are very grateful for the teams at Protopia, Alumni Q, and Givesy for being our Alumless presenting sponsors for Season 4. And of course, if you haven't checked out our new Alumni Engagement Foundational courses, we've got dates in October, November, and December, along with our Alumni Engagement Strategy Lab and our Office Hours Micro Consulting. So visit cbac.me for more information about that. And Chris, you and I have had the chance to work with a bunch of excellent schools over the last several years, some very unique in their who they are and where they are and their differentiating characteristics. But what would you say is the most unique college or university you've worked with?
There have been some interesting ones along the way for various reasons. Some, the distinct nature of their institutions, some with their affiliations, there's all kinds of factors. Bentley is one for real, but a few other ones, Ryan, I'll bring up. Places like Baylor and the University of Utah that have a religious affiliation, Gonzaga, Portland, and other schools we worked with that have some unique characteristics based on that. Another one that's very interesting too was High Point University we worked with that has a very distinct place in our industry right now, and for all kinds of reasons. I'm going to leave it at there and be diplomatic, but give you some other ones off record later.
And there's some schools with some really amazing and unique traditions, you'd have to say, right? Here in Virginia, where I live.
Yep.
William and Mary and Washington and Lee, schools that have these decades, even centuries long traditions, like the speaking tradition at Washington and Lee and at James Madison University. But we're privileged to work with so many excellent schools. But it's fair to say, Chris, that schools go through different eras. There's name changes, campus changes, athletic conference changes, and all of these things cause sometimes something of a disruptive dynamic. And there's kind of a demarcation line for alumni that attend during particular eras. Like, what do you think is the most disruptive dynamic that causes that sense of era?
My flippant answer is things like mascot changes or school colors or logo changes, because alums get all bent out of shape when anything changes. But it's half kidding, but there's some serious. There are parts of different college and universities' histories where a mascot change is a demarcation in their history. I think the biggest one, though, really, is when physical campuses move, locations. And with that, there are times where colleges and universities merge and two institutions become one. Those are major changes, obviously. And we're seeing that now, unfortunately, in our industry with this enrollment cliff coming and less students of college age going to places. There are more and more schools that are in jeopardy of not having the enrollment that's needed to keep the doors open. So we're seeing it at a faster pace, unfortunately. And one happened recently in New York State when Wells College closed their doors, and they asked Hobart William Smith College, who went through their own college is now. They call themselves, they could think of themselves as one, but they're now inheriting the management of Wells College as alumni base. So things like that are the major ones that I think that are really going to stick around for some time.
Yeah, not to mention, I think going from single sex to co-ed is a big
Exactly.
one.
Another
My
big one.
last
You did Richmond.
institution I worked with, that was a big change. And yeah, like, Elon and Queens College Charlotte, right, just merged together, right, just 2 weeks ago. So it's happening all around us. All right, let's bring out our special guest. We're glad to have you, Chris. Chris is Vice President for University Advancement at Bentley University in Waltham, Massachusetts. It's great to have you on the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Good to see you guys once again. It's always fun to get together with you.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you. Share a little bit about Bentley University. We've kind of teased some of the interesting dynamics that sort of shape eras within for different schools, but share what makes Bentley different and how it's evolved to the institution it is today.
Bentley, I would say, is one of the most unique universities out there, certainly one of the most unique universities I've worked for. So Bentley was founded in 1917 as the Harry Bentley School of Accounting. Harry Bentley was a professor at Boston University, actually, in their School of Management at the time. Harry Bentley and the dean, Everett Lord, they just didn't see eye to eye on pedagogical methods, and Harry decided that he was going to depart, but he was beloved by his students. And so his students chased him down the street and said, Harry, you got to continue to teach us accounting. And he agreed, and thus was born the Harry Bentley School of Accounting in 1917. For many years, Bentley was a school of accounting and finance based in downtown Boston. And it just really undergone a lot of transformational eras. And in the late 60s, early 70s, the university purchased a large plot of land in Waltham, Massachusetts, which is just outside of Boston, about a 15-20-minute drive from downtown Boston. And began to build a campus. And through the 70s and 80s, it was largely a commuter school, still very heavily focused on accounting and finance. And then as you moved into sort of the 90s and the 2000s, it became more residential. And today, nearly all of our students are in residence living on campus. And it's kind of a full residential experience. The other shift has been in recent years, the introduction of arts and sciences as sort of a complement to the business focus. So Bentley's really unique. It's one of a handful of schools that is a business focused university that also integrates the arts and sciences. And it's a really winning combination where our students leave Bentley with a lot of really practical and marketable business skills, complemented by the critical thinking and communication skills that you get from a liberal arts education. So we're really relentlessly focused on student outcomes. I mean, that's what we're known for. If you look at where we pop up in rankings in the top 10, top 20, they're rankings that are focused on student outcomes, on career success, on career salary, mid-career salaries. We have for the third year running now, the #1 ranked by Princeton Review, Pulsifer Career Development Center. So it is a place where, our students come in, they know they want to do business, they know that they want to be successful, they're gritty, they're hungry, they're hardworking, and Bentley prepares them really well for career success after Bentley. So it's a really unique place. There's some other schools that are maybe similar in New England, Babson and Bryant come to mind, but, kind of nationally, Bentley is a pretty unique model and one that I think in this time is poised for success.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and I think the notion of the sort of business background and ethos with then the liberal arts layered on top, making it sort of multidisciplinary, but sort of merging the business and the arts and the humanities, right, is a really excellent concept for today's college age students, and that direct connection that's been so lasting, right, with the business community has really made, of course, the Pulsifer Career Center have access to all these great relationships throughout New England and broadly. But I would imagine that the eras themselves have made Bentley's alumni and family engagement challenges unique, right? That move from the accounting program then to the suburban campus and the introduction of arts and sciences. Just talk a little bit about the challenges that have resulted from those unique eras.
Yeah, so I think when we were undergoing our engagement strategic assessment with you guys, I think it was you guys who pointed out that if you put Bentley alums from different decades in a room, every one of them would have had a different Bentley experience. So that shared experience that a lot of places have kind of doesn't exist at Bentley. You talk about one of the challenges of or disruptions of moving a campus. We've had that in the last 40, 50 years. The shift from really a commuter school to a residential campus, that's another big shift. The integration of arts and sciences is a shift. So there have been, throughout Bentley's history, a lot of moments of really big transformative change that makes it so that, if you take alumni from the last 50 years and you break them up by decade, each one had a very different Bentley experience, even down to the mascot. I mean, we were talking with a group of alumni about, this concept of the Falcon family for life. And it really resonated with recent grads. But there were graduates in the 70s who said, the Falcon doesn't mean anything to us. We didn't have that. It wasn't a mascot. We didn't have athletics, or they had athletics, but it wasn't, it wasn't something that was really meaningful to them. So that's been an interesting sort of dynamic to navigate when you're trying to build community and speak to a broad alumni base across different generations that had very, very different experiences.
But when you speak to alumni and donors and they comment on today's Bentley,
mm-hmm.
what compliments, what good feedback are you getting, and where is the criticism coming from? I suspect you hit on a little bit in your last answer, but expand a little bit what you're hearing, especially start at the top of the pyramid, if you will, the donor pipeline, and then from the top donors, is it different than you have sort of annual donors and non-donors in that equation?
That's a good question. I think we have an obligation to really educate our alumni base and our donors on kind of why Bentley looks the way it looks today. From a curricular perspective, from a demographic perspective, it is different. And I think, at the top of the pyramid, we have an opportunity to be in more of a face-to-face, one-on-one conversation where we can talk through dynamics like the demographics of the student population today and
right.
the demographic cliff and why, our diversity is a sign of strength. And we can have those conversations one-on-one. I think when we start getting to the folks who are less connected and we're relying on our communication vehicles, it's a little harder to tell the complicated story that is Bentley. So I think it's a little bit easier at the top of the pyramid because you can engage in those conversations. But, I think there are things that people are really resonating with. I mean, we popped up as number 12 in the nation on the Wall Street Journal college and university rankings. And that was a huge point of pride. And those
Huge
rankings are focused on student outcomes and career success. And that's something that is a through line through all of the generations. That people are really proud of the fact that Bentley graduates go into the business world and do really well, are immediate value creators for the companies they're joining. And that's been consistent. I think it's more some questions about, why are we introducing the liberal arts? Are we watering down the curriculum by having people taking, courses in the arts and humanities? But when you can get into conversation with somebody and help them understand that, what we're trying to do in today's business environment is round out that education with some of those liberal arts courses to develop the communication and critical thinking skills that companies are looking for today.
So it's sort of like round out rather than water down, It's like, I mean, it's some subtle language, but as you're talking to folks on how to help them understand, the fusion of the liberal arts into the business, I would imagine there's sort of specific language you use, right?
Yeah. And I think that's going to be increasingly important as we go forward and you look at the impact that AI is having on business and some of the bigger fields that our students go into, like accounting and finance, where AI is likely to be very disruptive. And it's going to require our students to have a different set of skills as they go into those companies.
You just teed one up right there, but in terms of opportunities for Bentley as an institution, you're part of the senior leadership team. I'm sure you've been in conversations where we've kind of looked out ahead and where we're going as an institution. What are the key opportunities that you can identify? It's for everybody, obviously, but in your place, it's going to be a big disruptor.
Yeah, AI is going to be, it's a topic of conversation every day. And I'm sure we're not alone in that. The other one I think is we're in no surprise to anybody listening to this, in an environment where the value of higher education is being questioned every day. Students are questioning it, parents are questioning it, some employers are questioning it, and certainly policymakers, have higher education under a microscope. And I think Bentley doesn't need to pivot in the way some other institutions do to really articulate their value and to demonstrate that the product is delivering on the promise.
Such a great point.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've had this long history of incredible outcomes and career success. And there was a Georgetown Center for higher education in the workplace study that was done a few years ago that ranked the ROI of different institutions, and Bentley popped up in the top 10 on that. So the value of a Bentley education is something that has long been recognized and is something that we're keenly focused on. So I think that's a differentiator for a place like Bentley. And you're starting to see more institutions I went to a liberal arts school, and you're seeing more of the dialogue from those institutions being around career readiness and preparation and ensuring that students have the skill set to be able to land that first job and thrive in their careers. And that's something that Bentley has been doing for decades.
We're going to take a quick break and have a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back with Chris Grugan from Bentley University.
What if you could guarantee that tomorrow would be better than today? That the work you're doing will have an impact, not just in this moment or in this year, but a true and lasting legacy of positive change? What if you had the ability to inspire those around you to make the world a better place? To right the wrongs, to address injustice, and to celebrate and amplify the good that happens every day. There are millions of people who want to be part of change, but just haven't been asked. They're out there. We're sure of it. How does it feel to make a gift that changes the world? Well, magical. We're building technology to help donors support the organizations that they love the most. Whether you give a little or you give a lot, your impact is felt. And together, we can make tomorrow better than today. We're version 2, and we're reinventing technology that reimagines what's possible in fundraising.
How did your cumulative experiences that you had personally at Tufts, at BU, Harvard, sort of prepare you for the role at Bentley?
I've pulled a lot of different things from each of those institutions. I think one through line is the recognition that every institution is unique. And as you come into an institution, you really need to be almost that cultural anthropologist to understand why you're seeing what you're seeing. Just because it's different from an institution you may have been at before doesn't mean it's wrong. It's right, might be right for the particular institution you're at. So that's been a real takeaway for me. I mean, Tufts and BU maybe a little bit more similar than Tufts and BU and Harvard, but each one has been very unique, and trying to understand the culture as you come into the organization, and both your team culture, but also the alumni culture and the campus culture, has been really important in trying to assess what the right strategy is for the institution. I think in all of those cases, sort of just good fundamental development preparation has been important. But for Bentley, we're undergoing a lot of change. And so really having some hard learned lessons around change management at in particular BU and Harvard have been important as I've come into Bentley and really tried to assess where we need to go as a team. It's a relatively new endeavor at Bentley. It certainly doesn't have the history of a Harvard or even a Tufts or BU. So that's been a big part of it, is really sort of navigating and charting the course and navigating the change management that we need to do to create the culture that's going to breed success.
When you arrived at Bentley, remind us how long you've been there, but tell us what surprised you most about alumni engagement, the culture of alumni engagement when you arrived at Bentley.
Yeah, so I'm coming up on 3 years. When I arrived, I the giving rate, the annual fundraising achievement, they were kind of surprisingly low for a place, for a business-focused university with the successful alumni base. So that was one surprise. And I think, I assumed coming in, or my operating thesis coming in, was that it was because the advancement team maybe wasn't getting to the ask, or wasn't aspirational enough in their solicitations. And what I came to realize in conversation with alumni is they loved Bentley. They wanted to be connected with Bentley. But I think the institution had focused a lot more on the asking and a lot less on the community building. And on the engagement. And so I encountered a lot of individuals who said, I love Bentley. The only time I hear from you guys, though, is when you're asking for money. And, I want to engage. I want to be part of the community. I want to give back in other ways and understand what you're trying to accomplish there. So that's what led me to you guys. Said we got to figure out this engagement piece, because that was a pretty consistent refrain in the conversations I was having with alumni. Was they were looking for deeper, more substantive engagement than they were seeing from Bentley. And I think we know that engagement leads to giving. And I think we were focusing at the end before we built the foundation of engagement.
Sounds familiar, not
Yeah.
just for you guys, but other institutions out there. And it's been a great learning opportunity for us, I'm sure. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the work we did with you all in the bonus segment. But I want to ask you, because we talked about it briefly already, the success of the Pulsifer Career Center as part of the institution's, really proof points, right, of this return on investment. But it's part of advancement at Bentley, right? Can you talk a little bit about how you've worked to ensure the unit is integrated into the work of stimulating generosity and investment?
Yeah. This is a sort of a unique, not wholly unique. I know there are other institutions where career services is nested within advancement, but it was unique for me. This is the first time I've been a part of a advancement unit that includes career services. I think one of the first things I did, we had our team meeting and we included the career services team, the Pulsifer Career Development team. And it didn't seem like a novel idea, but apparently, that was something that didn't always happen. I think another aha moment was we had first year I was there, a holiday party in New York, from alumni holiday party. Janet L., who is our head of the Pulsifer Career Development Center, was going to New York to do some employer relations work, some business development to find new employers to recruit on campus. And I said, well, why don't you join? Come to the holiday party. And she did, and I'm watching her in the room at the holiday party, and there are all of these recent grads who are coming up and giving her a hug, like somebody bringing her flowers. Like, she had a really meaningful impact on a lot of our alumni, and a lot of our alumni stay in touch with their career coaches in the Pulsifer Career Development Center. So I saw that this was a really untapped area, and so Janet travels with us a lot, or travels with the development team quite a bit. She's out there. She's done sessions in California and New York and Florida. And people come out to see her. They want to know what's going on. Like, they care about the career outcomes of our students. So they want to know what we're doing to prepare students for the market of today. And they want to help, right? They want to recruit on campus. They want to provide internships. They want to come and speak in a class and help our students understand how AI is changing the accounting or consulting professions. So we've been trying to make more of those connections, and I think we're really just getting started on that. I think the other thing we're realizing is that it's not just that career services benefits our alumni engagement. Our alumni engagement benefits career services. So we had our fall career fair last week, 100 companies on campus, and probably about 70% of them were really driven by alumni, or the reasons they're coming to campus. We had a really large employer who, due to economic reasons, was paring their list of schools they were going to recruit at. And we got a letter that Bentley was off their list. And we reached out to one of our well-placed alumni there, and within 24 hours, we were back on their list. So it has a really mutually beneficial and symbiotic relationship that I think we're just beginning to understand and tap into. But it's a powerful combination that has a lot going for it.
One of the visible symbols of that we came across, I wish we could take credit for this, Chris, but it was already in development when Ryan and I started doing our review work, was this alumni conference that you've held. And we were blown away at the idea, the planning and execution, and then when it finally happened and the attendance you had was off the charts, it was the content and the format that was really interesting. Tell the listeners a little bit about that journey and describe the model, if you could.
Sure, yeah. So I can't take credit for the idea. This was something that I guess our global alumni board had been advocating to do for a number of years, and we decided, let's give it a shot, see how it goes. So the alumni conference is a 2-day conference for Bentley alumni by Bentley alumni. We have several keynote speakers throughout the conference, and then we solicit proposals from alumni to do various panel discussions and conference sessions on a range of topics, from buying a business, exiting from a business, entrepreneurship, creating your brand. So we had last year about 85 proposals from alumni to do conference sessions. We weren't able to accommodate everybody. We had about 30 sessions over the 2 days, coupled with 3 keynote addresses and then networking and social time. And yeah, we have struggled historically to get event attendance on campus, but this was something that people kind of came out of the woodwork for, and we had 250 individuals showing up on campus to do this. And I think it's a winning combination. It's a lot of work for the team, but it's something that I think, again, speaks to the Bentley culture. Our Bentley alumni are serious people who are interested in their professional growth and career development. And when we offer programming that speaks to that, they show up for it. So it's been a real success and something that we're continuing to lean into and trying to grow. And last year we had a couple of sessions that qualified for continuing ed credits for different professional organizations.
Love it.
Trying to do a little bit more of that, working with our colleagues in executive education to think about how we can offer some executive education courses built around the alumni conference. So it's been a really neat opportunity, and again, kind of a lesson to listen to your alumni, because they came up with the idea, and we just help facilitate it.
And of course, as it was showing that early success, things like, should we offer it virtually, not just in person? Should we include students? And all good things in the future evolutionary stages of that stuff's to explore. So kudos on a big win there. So it's a model that I think makes a lot of sense.
And one of the things we're talking about now is around parents. I mean, our parents want to be part of our community.
Yeah.
And we've branded it as the Alumni Conference, but we've had parents as keynote speakers. We've had a couple of parents as panelists. But there's huge interest from parents on coming back to campus and engaging with Bentley in this way.
Well, one of the things I've said about institutions in general, with the onset of technology and social media and so forth, what's left for us and the unique value that we can offer our constituencies is content and network. And that's a perfect example, crystallizing those two things together in this case, an event. But this is brilliant. I know we're pressed on time here, Ryan, so I want to get you to our wrap up here. So give us a little preview of what's coming up down the road, Ryan, on Alumless and our shorts and everything else that we're talking about.
Yeah, so recording later on today with Craig Swinyard, who is the AVP of Alumni Engagement at Oregon Health and Science University Foundation. I think those of you might remember that the school was recently in the news because I think they received a $2 billion gift from Phil Knight, I want to say, of Nike fame. And we're going to talk with Craig about not only that interesting occurrence for the school, but also his unique alignment of based on sort of journeys, building a team around the case alumni engagement metrics from a position standpoint. And then in the next show on October 24th for Alumless, we've got our friend Stella Mayer from Wilkes University. We're going to talk about the merging of annual giving and alumni engagement at our small liberal arts school. And we're going to have a great chat with Stella. So for those of you who are listening by podcast, we will be back right after the break. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for everybody else who's watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, we'll be back in your feed in 2 weeks' time with Stella Mayer from Wilkes University.